the Second Universe Series, Part 7, The Book of Garyx, by A.J. King, copyright 2022. The story so far, Part 1, Jarius Cain. Jarius Cain was born, the reincarnation of Cretan, the father of all demons. Growing up, he learned arcane magic and even brought a demon into the world of Corvus, eventually forcing said demon into his ring of power. He sacrificed youth for fast magic. This aged him rapidly. He attempted to take over the world by use of vile necromancy, raising his home castle into the air as a necropolis and fortress, but was stopped by his sister Razy Cain, the wizard Darren Overby, his brother Nezron Cain, and Clemo, the last psychic teleporter. By sheer luck alone, Jarius survived and escaped the world, believed him dead. He cheated death by capturing 5 psychics, intending it to be 6, but the last psychic teleporter escaped 200 years into the future. Jarius performed the ritual of agony by torturing these 5 captured psychics, one of which was his very own brother, Nezron Cain. Thus, he became a lich and waited 200 years to create the perfect psychic. During this time, he studied the brains of the 5 sacrificed psychics as well as prepare, plot, and manipulate the world from his hidden cavernous lair. Part 2, the Metamind, was created by the lich, able to utilize his psionic brain containing 5 different types of psychics. He became an instant legend, where any seer would already know of him and his grand quest to either destroy heaven or hell. While as a child, a portal opened up in his village and swarms of demons sought to preemptively destroy the potential threat, thus ensuring Jason would set off on the path to destroy hell itself. Clemo, the teleporter from 200 years ago, died at the beginning in order to save Jason the Metamind from another attempt from hell to take his life. Seth the Warlock, bound by a powerful demon, failed at his mission to kill Jason thanks to Clemo. Having lost the Metamind, the Warlock turned to the Lich for aid. Meanwhile, the terrible mutant named Clothrall began to rise in power. Jason traveled to Mount Skyborn to train and learn the ways of traversing space. Along the way, he was saved by an elven archer that was actually the Lich in disguise. Together, they made it to Skyborn, where Jason met his future self and trained inside of a demiplane that was frozen in time. He exited 12 and a half years later and met his younger self to train him for 12 and a half years, thus mastering not only his psychic powers, but also overcoming countless trials he set up. Having completed his 25-year training in a blink of an eye, Jason returned to the Psionic Guild in Babylon, only to discover that Clothrall had taken over the mind of the Warlock, along with a massive army. They lay siege to Babylon, the same city Jarius was defeated at over 200 years ago. Jason won and took over the mind of the Warlock who stole the soul of Clemo at the beginning of this tale. Jason took his soul and acquired magical help from clerics to bring Clemo back to life. Jason forced the Warlock to open a portal to the Abyss. Jason, Clemo, Seth, and the Lich, still disguised as an elf, entered the Abyss, where their journey truly began. Part 3, Grotst, the first demon lord, proved challenging with his world-sized realm in the Abyss. The 4 first passed through the spectral layers of the Abyss. Next was the fiery layers, where they obtained the immunity of fire by forcing the Warlock to weave demon skin that could be worn. Jason declined out of pride and the fact that he could just manifest fire immunity with his psychic powers. Clemo had no such objections and happily wore the skin. Moving through the abyss, Jason and Clemo would psychically locate the entrance portals to the next abysmal layer and simply teleport there until they encountered a desert layer that spanned a great distance where teleporting could not work. This trek took 10 years. During the walk, the warlock developed sub-thoughts in order to avoid mental probings and thus form a plan to kill Clemo. Clemo was slowly poisoned over several days. The Lich convinced the warlock to stop because Clemo was the only way Seth could possibly escape this suicidal mission. Seth ceased and Clemo recovered and gained poison immunity from the endeavor. When they exited the long desert, they were attacked by Hell's third attempt at stopping Jason. A crystalline golem immune to psionics proceeded to attack them the moment they exited. They beat the thing, but the Lich revealed himself to Clemo and even used a few tricky spells to confuse him into thinking that the warlock was Jason. Clemo grabbed the warlock and teleported back to their home world, Corvus. The Lich and Jason took on Everchange, the massive cube world Grotz ruled over. The succubus daughter of Grotz seduced and mind-controlled the Metamind, who then obliterated the Lich. A few days later, the Lich came back to life, but back in his cavernous lair. He mind-controlled Clemo, and then, through heavy convincing, even recruited Darren Overby, the wizard. Darren, being no fool, brought along Mark Johnson, the paladin. Grotz fought Jason in an arena just to see who would win. Grotz won, but still didn't kill the Metamind. Instead, he used him to challenge the army of Ammon, the next demon lord. They defeated his top general, but at the last moment, Clemo teleported Jason away, and Darren used his magic to undo the sexual domination placed upon him. Meanwhile, angels watched from heaven, and thanks to Mark Johnson being there, were able to intervene for the first time. With an army of angels, they laid siege to Everchange. Jason, however, teleported directly to Grotz for a one-on-one fight. Jason used his Metamind powers to copy the speed of this demon lord. Grotz used his mighty sword, which had killed gods in the previous universe, Cretan's own weapon. Just as Jason began to lose the fight, the Lich, disguised as Clemo, took hold of the sword, reclaiming his old weapon, turning the indestructible blade into his new phylactery. The Lich killed Grotz, but gave the credit to Jason. Most angels departed. Clemo took Overby back to his city, leaving one angel, Mark Johnson, and the Lich disguised as an elf to continue through the abyss. Part 4, Ammon. Ammon, the air demon lord and strongest demon, had 10 demon guard, each with their own unique powers and curses, posed the new threat. The first demon guard attacked. When they defeated him, this caused an explosion and separated everyone. The Lich used this distraction to teleport Mark away. The angel destroyed the Lich, but that was only a temporary death. With no man of faith present, the angel was forced to leave. Jason was alone in this air abyss. Ammon used his powers to cease all forms of teleporting in this layer of the abyss to ensure no one could come to Jason's aid. Another demon guard tried to reach Jason, but the demon lord Pazuzu intervened and rescued the Metamind in hopes of using him. Jason agreed to allow Pazuzu to help him, and together they attacked Ammon. A shape-shifting demon guard possessed the body of a priest dwarf for his own amusement, but that only proved his own downfall, because when Jason freed the dwarf, his prayers could then be heard by the gods, and their armies descended upon Ammon, thus granting Jason the advantage. Zane, the angel, took pity on the tortured dwarf and took him straight to heaven, which once again left Jason without divine help. Chortar, the final demon guard, turned against Ammon at the most opportune time. Jason, Chortar, and Ammon entered a fight with no one taking the side of another. Jason copied Chortar's negative energy powers. The Lich, throughout all of this, had captured the warlock and soulbound him to the paladin. Then he moved the two bound ones to a remote island in a distant world called Titanus, which was so massive that it had 3 stars revolving around it. The two bound ones escaped that island only to face their own set of dilemmas. Clemo, throughout all of this, wanted to help Jason, but realized he was under-equipped to take on demons and help Jason, so Clemo began his own quest for powerful items that could assist him. He accidentally traveled to a parallel timelines and eventually made a friend that joined him in multiversal journeys. At the end, the Lich showed up, but remained hidden. Jason killed Chortar while the Lich killed Ammon. Ammon's death throes made him into a black hole, but not before the Lich reclaimed his lost strength that Ammon stole from his previous life. The power was put into a ring, and the Lich sucked into the black hole, crushed. With Ammon dead, the anti-teleportation ceased. The sword teleported away, and so did Jason. Part 5, Orcus and Demogorgon, posed the newest threat. Orcus was banished to the material plane by traitor demons. He crashed into Titanus, the same world Seth and Mark occupied. Clemo discovered a city consisting solely of alternate versions of himself. They learned of Jason's quest to destroy Hell and also of Orcus from an angel. They agreed to help Clemo. Jason attacked Demogorgon, but when a new, even more powerful psychic showed up, wanting to help Jason, but didn't realize Pazuzu was on Jason's side. Alvaro Alisto killed Pazuzu, and Jason fought him. Through the combat, Jason placed a stasis field over Alvaro, not before the death throes of Pazuzu, however, which caused everyone's morals and mindset to reverse. Good became evil, law became chaos, and vice versa. The chaotic evil demons that were enslaved by Pazuzu became lawful good demons dedicated to Jason. Jason turned from law to chaos and decided to abandon his quest to stop Hell. Clemo gained a psychic weapon named Fission. Clemo also discovered massive wealth and the remaining magical items he quested for. Clemo saved Alvaro by teleporting him out of the stasis field, recruited him, convinced Darren Overby to help against Orcus, and eventually convinced Jason to help as well. Mark and Seth, being bound to one another, could not escape each other or fight, for if one died, they both died. They came across a witch that informed them of a powerful place called the Nether that could defeat Orcus. The witch also helped bind Mark to Seth's will with magical chains. Orcus turned all nearby dead into undead at his command. The demon lord of undeath started to take over Titanus, and seemingly nothing could stop him. The Lich arrived at Titanus to discover Mark and Seth were not on the island he left them. The Lich stumbled across Orcus and was immediately controlled by the demon lord, who recognized his identity as the former Cretan. Orcus used his new thrall to conquer all the faster. Orcus created a general Zincarla. The world of Titanus swarmed with undead, forcing all of the remaining inhabitants to retreat to the southernmost city of Mor, where they prepared for a last stand against the undead. The army of Clemos, wizards of Overby, Jason, and Alvaro came to the aid of Mor. Overby was in charge. Angels even showed up to defend. Attacks happened, and Clemo was mentally informed about the warlock, the same warlock that killed and tortured his soul. Clemo teleported the warlock in the middle of the war, meeting to seek revenge. Seth and Mark found the Nether, but it was controlled by a child. They snuck in to kill the child, Mark, with his paladin abilities, looked at the child and saw pure evil, corruption, and an unsavable soul. Mark agreed to stop this child, and as they attacked, Mark managed to kill the child, thus becoming the new leader of the Nether. Seth, dismayed by this, wanted to kill Mark. Mark, in turn, freed the Nether, thus rendering it inert and forever powerless. Enraged, Seth tried to attack, but Clemo appeared and killed the warlock. Mark, in turn, died, but was grateful. Clemo returned to the others to prepare to fight Orcus. Jarius was confronted by Mark, who became an angelic archon. Mark used his newly acquired divine powers to bring Jarius back to life, thus ending his lich state, making him mortal solely to kill him. Jason intervened, took over the mind of Jarius, and refused to allow Mark to kill the former lich. The angels abandoned Jason and left Titanus to its feet. Jason gave the angels the sword of Grotst as a peace offering, and they accepted it, but still left. Jason placed in the brain of Jarius a mind seed, a psychic copy of his persona, to retain permanent control. Clemo, along with 4 other combat Clemos, defended the city. The undead arrived and constant combat began. An endless wave of undead stormed the city. The 5 combat Clemos, along with 5 wizards, attacked Orcus directly, while Jason, Alvaro, and Jarius attacked the Zincarla general. The wizards chanted rituals with the sole function of nullifying many of the powers of Orcus, so that the 5 Clemos stood a chance. Orcus began to lose the fight, so he possessed the strongest Clemo, nicknamed Strong. Then, using strong psychic powers, he traveled back in time to take out Darren Overby just 2 weeks prior. Overby, having remembered the fight, insisted that only Clemos go after him, refusing to allow Jason, Alvaro, or Jarius to follow. The past fight was successful, but at the cost of permanently losing strong Clemo. The death throes of Orcus melted all flesh within a 100-mile radius. This killed most Clemos, wizards, and remaining residents of Titanus. Jarius gained the power of the undead that Orcus stole from Cretan. Jason, Alvaro, and Jarius took on Demogorgon. Overby returned to his city. Demogorgon, however, turned out to be an elaborate, long set-up trap solely to weaken Jason and Alvaro. Dagon waited until they defeated Demogorgon, which left the 2 Titan psychics too weak to defend against Dagon's surprise attack. Dagon pulled the 2 into portals with his tentacles, leaving Jarius paralyzed and alone in this vast, empty abyss. Part 6. Dagon. Dagon rose into power by absorbing the 2 most powerful psychics in the multiverse. Jarius Kane woke up with the mind seed Jason placed in his head being his only companion. After some failed self-brain surgery, he gave up on removing the voice in his head. Out of desperation and lack of water, he drank unholy water, which allowed the demon goddess Loth to invade his mind and torment him during his dreams. Every night, Jarius would finally feel all of the suffering he has wrought upon others. Dagon has sealed the city of Clemo, trapping all of the Clemos into their own society and capturing everyone he could to absorb their psychic energy. Dagon wasn't the only threat for the 4 combat Clemos. Junior, Gray, Magic, and Twinkle found a parasite Clemo, nicknamed Red, that was doing the exact same thing as Dagon. With the help of Theresa, cleverly utilizing the very same attack portals Dagon summoned, she was able to astral project through to help them teleport out. Unfortunately, Red followed, but only one Red. Red, after absorbing Clemo, would then copy himself into the dead body of his alternate, thus there were thousands of him, but all trapped in the city of Clemo at Dagon's mercy. The mind seed of Jason altered the brain of Jarius to have psychic powers, but only the mind seed could control them. With the help of the endless undead at his command, including many Clemos and Carlas, Jarius found where his Godslayer sword was kept in Celestia. He attacked and retrieved his weapon. Jarius and Dagon confront one another, where Dagon reveals that he, like Jarius, is an aspect of Cretan. They became natural allies. The Clemos struggled to fight and escape Red, eventually defeating the one Red that followed them. The Mind Seed of Jason convinced Junior, and by proxy, eventually the other three Clemos, to join Jarius. Dagon subdued Red and forced him to help Jarius as well, but only allowed one at a time to exit the city of Clemo. Having had enough of the evil that is Jarius, Deity, the god of chaos, sent all of his forces and eventually showed up himself, descending from the dark star Ashta. Meanwhile, the astral projection of the Mind Seed set out to steal the divinity of Deity from worshippers and redirect it to Dagon. Dagon became a god. Dagon and Deity fought. Their fight was displayed by Jarius via viewing portals he set up. The Mind Seed entered the mental plane, was beating Deity, and found the real Jason and or Alvaro. The Mind Seed sacrificed itself to wake him up, and by that the divinity Dagon stole defaulted to Jason due to Jason being the conduit the prayers were going to. Alvaro and Jason were fused as one being. His skin was a swirl of dark and light hues. With ease, he crushed Dagon, then confronted Deity. Their battle took place in a multitude of planes. One plane allowed them to talk. Jason Alvaro won. Jarius passed out from pain due to Jason having siphoned it to him. Red became free and gave chase to the four Clemos. After Deity died, chaos no longer existed in the multiverse. Color ceased, leaving only shades of gray. All the stars lined up perfectly, as did trees, grass, and all other things on the material plane.